And welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Marotta, host of the show. And happy to be with you here Monday night, April 13th, 2026. Welcome to our live viewing audience. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, VoiceEd Radio Canada, wherever you are taking in your podcast. Maybe it's in Pearl, Mississippi. Maybe it's in Nixa, Missouri, hometown, or the hometown and now the new town of Coach John Perry, our guest tonight, head football coach, Nixa High School. John's a leader. John's a speaker. John's a motivator. He's a coach, doing a lot of things, getting better every day. And we're going to meet John in just a moment. First, a word from IXL, our longtime sponsor. If you're an educator, it's April. You've been working with these kids all year long and certainly knowing their level. IXL is a great way to do that.
I'd like to thank IXL for sponsoring today's podcast. Over 1 million teachers use IXL in their classroom every day. IXL is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It empowers schools with complete curriculum, thousands of instructional resources, robust reporting, assessment data, and more. It saves teachers a lot of valuable time with ready-made plans aligned to the standards and the textbooks. Built-in engagement tools like custom competitions make learning fun for students. And IXL's diagnostic is research proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments. And the best part? Everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your EdTech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your students towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, appreciate IXL sponsoring today's podcast.
All right, check them out, friends. Thank you, IXL. And again, we're going to meet Coach Perry in just a moment. Our opening segment is called Family Feud. Over the Easter break, I love having game night with my family. Finally could get all the kids together and the family, and we were together and we played Family Feud, and it was fun. We laughed, we yelled. It was great. And one of the questions that came up in Family Feud was, what do you remember most about your teacher in school? My daughter hits the thing and she says, and so she was first to the buzzer, so she got it. And she said, the content, what they taught you. And it wasn't even on the list of 100 things. It wasn't on the list. And what was number one, right? What was number one on the list? What was number two? What were the big hits on the list? It was, were they nice? Were they kind? Did they make you feel special? That was number one. Number two, were they angry? Were they mean? Did they yell, right? Was there a negative vibe there that you remember these things? And those top two answers, right, is how they made you feel. And think about what we're doing in education. Yes, reading, writing, math, arithmetic, we're doing all of that. But we're making a human connection. We're making kids remember these experiences and the laughs and the hugs and the tears. And in Coach Perry's case, the wins, the losses, the time together on the bus, the meals, the challenges, the struggles, all of those things that kids remember. So out of that question, right, she answered what they're teaching you. And that wasn't even on the list. It was the relationships and how those teachers made those kids feel. That's what people remember. So I want to share that story with you here on the podcast. If you're watching live, jump in tonight, say hello. and be involved in the show. I love when our guests participate in the show. But enough of me yip yapping. Here he is. He's had a busy day. He's had practice. He's had his own podcast today. But Nixa, Missouri, Coach John Perry. John, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you having me on, man. What a pleasure.
Yeah, I follow your stuff, and it's good. It's good to have you on. You had me on yours years ago, and here we are now. So welcome, my friend. And
Yes, sir.
is it off season for the football now? Are you like off? Like, is there nothing? Are you starting workouts? Where are you at right now as a head football coach, Nixa High School?
Man, we are continuously in the process of trying to get better. So we will, we work out at 5:30 in the mornings on Mondays and Wednesdays. Right now, we're in a little bit of spring ball. So we come in, we get 3 hours a week to practice spring football. So we come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays and practice at 5:45 a.m. We start early. That's just the way we roll. School starts at 7:30. I'll get about 40 or 50 of them back 8th period, and we will either speed train or work out. But at 5:30 in the morning, we've got them all in there, getting a great workout in. We bring our 8th graders over in the spring and put them in another weight room just to try to train them on how to get up early, because our belief is to be successful, we got to get up and get moving, man. Like, we're going to do things that other people don't do because we hope to get things that other people don't get. You know what I mean? So we start early. We're in spring ball. And then 3 years ago, I took on the Chiefs had an initiative. The Kansas City Chiefs had an initiative to start flag football. And I don't know if you know this or not, but it's one of the fastest growing sports in the United States for females. And my AD came and asked me would I help get it started. And I was kind of hesitant, I got a lot on my plate, And so anyway, I agreed to do it. And to be honest with you, we're in flag football season right now. We went to Kansas City last Friday night, took a 3.5-hour bus ride up, played 2 games, went 2-0, won on a last second 2-minute drive, got on the bus, get home at midnight. And, the flag football thing has been fun, but it makes time really busy. So we do have a lot going on in the spring.
Awesome. Well, John, you're at Nixa. This was your 6th year, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Came from Pearl, Mississippi, and you've been highly successful. 4 championships. You've been in the state championship twice, and it hasn't gone your way. But that's extremely successful there. Talk to me about coming to a new place. You spent your whole life in Pearl, Mississippi. You're in a new place. What are some of the things that you introduced there that maybe they didn't have before that has produced this winning formula that you're bringing to you everywhere you go?
One of the great things about, being in this profession for 26 years, right? And then one of the thoughts that led us to want to go to Nixa was we had built a really good program in Pearl, Mississippi. In 2017, we won the Class 6 state championship, went 16-0, which was one of only 3 teams to ever go 16-0 in the course of a year. And the thought was, could we go somewhere else and do what we did in Pearl without knowing anybody? Just that competitive, could we really do this? That was a thought. So, when we got up here, we knew absolutely nobody. It was me and my wife, and my son.
Your son had a big the theater, bro. He brought you.
No doubt about it. He was a big reason why we were here. But that thought of, can we go there and create a culture that we can win and do big things? And, I'll say this. They had hired a superintendent the year before I got here, and he had already got the ball rolling. Like, he was spectacular. They were building a new home side of the stadium when I got here, right? And then we just started, man, from the ground up, just started teaching our guys what are the values that we need to hold to be successful in life. And those same values will also help us be successful, in the football world. And so we just went to school, man. I came during COVID. Like, I was hired 2 weeks before COVID hit. So when COVID hit, I thought, man, this is fantastic. Like, we're going to Zoom every day. We Zoomed every day. We had meetings about our core values, about our objectives, about our standards. I felt like COVID was a win for us because we were allowed to be together via Zoom a ton, and I think there's three things you got to have to be successful, at a high school, on a high school level, probably on any level. And number one is a great administration. The administration here was all in. They were all in on giving us everything that we needed to be successful and backing, the sports and the fine arts. And like, they want to be great in everything. Number two, you got to have great assistant coaches, and they have allowed us to hire great coaches. They have allowed us to pay great coaches. Like, they have honestly taken care of us and let us, go out and hire some really good people. And number three, you got to have some talent. We have had some talent. We just graduated the number one player in America, who was the national Gatorade Player of the Year that is going through spring ball at Miami right now. We have had some talent too. So, it all kind of come together, under this one umbrella of, creating a culture that our kids can be successful and be, great humans in life one day, right? Because that's really what they're all going to go pro in eventually, right? Is being a husband, being a father, being, a CEO, being an employee. And we are serious about teaching the leadership skills that it takes, as well as the mental performance skills that it takes to overcome adversity. And, our kids have been fantastic.
This Coach John Perry, friends, Nixa, Missouri. I put his website in the chat there. John's got a great podcast as well. Been doing it a long time. I'm going to put this in the chat there also, and we'll get to your podcast in a moment. John, the school provides us, right? Every year we can look back at our school and what we've done, what worked, what didn't work. Football is the same. You've been doing this a long time. You've been a championship level coach. What are some things that you look back and say, you know what, that was a big misstep, or that we got to change that? Like, looking back, what are the things that you look for, and then how do you make those changes moving forward every year?
One of the things that we've always tried to do, and we kind of took this from the Army, but the after action reviews, that the Army does, as far as asking, after games, after seasons, what went well, what didn't go well, what can we change next time? How can we change it? And we really try to evaluate everything we do. Now, what I find extremely difficult, and I've always found this difficult, you take the last 2 years. First of all, we've not lost a home game since October 22nd, 2022. Okay. So we win a lot. We've not lost a regular season game in the last 2 years, but therein lies the problem. I honestly believe if we lose a regular season game last year or the year before, we probably win one of those two state championships. I think it is so hard to learn when things are going great. I just think it's hard. I think it's hard to evaluate. I think it's hard to, hold the line, to hold the standards. Just in my career, we have grown more through losses than we have through wins, and it's really hard. Okay. So the last 2 years, the only game we lost was a state championship game. Well, that's a whole nother animal, right? Because it's not like you're evaluating it, getting ready for practice Monday. You got all off season to evaluate it and think about it. And, sometimes I think it's easy to second guess yourself. There are things about that game that, when you go back and you play it back, you're like, what should we do different? How should we do it different? But you also got to be true to who you are. As an example, one of the thoughts that come out of that game was, should we play guys both ways? Some teams around here will play kids both ways and be successful. Bigsby, Oklahoma, one of the best programs in the United States of America, will play their best players both ways. So I think, we have Jackson Cantwell, the greatest high school football player in America, and he only played offense. So when you lose a point by one play, by 4 points, all these thoughts start running through your head. So should we start playing guys both ways? But you also got to be true to who you are, and that's just not who we are. Right? Because you could also go down this road. What if we played guys both ways? We may not even play for a state championship. We might lose Jackson Cantwell in week 4, getting cut on defense or, so I think you got to be careful as to, can you evaluate the things that matter? The things that matter are the objectives of the sport. How many times do we turn it over? How many penalties do we give up a game? How are we in the kicking game? Like, I think those things we got to try to improve and be the best that we can and keep our identity as to what we are. But I do find it hard when you don't lose. I thought about starting my parent meeting this year with, I can't wait till we lose a game this year. I think I'm fired up about it. Like, I think, and I'm going to be honest with you, inside, I'm going to be fired up. I'm telling you, like, it's hard to learn when you win. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's just hard to, complacency is real. Human beings are complacent beings, and when you start having success, and things seem to be going easy and good, and it is hard, to really evaluate and use self-awareness to see yourself as you truly are. So, there's a part of me that I am excited about. We lost 18 starters and, nobody wins them all the time. So, if we do stumble out of the gate, I'm going to be smiling inside, I can assure you, because nothing provides feedback like a butt whipping. Nothing. You know what I mean? When I was 8 years old and my mom would take that belt to me, I knew exactly what I had done wrong. And I knew exactly how to fix it. You know what I mean? And I think football, sports is some of the same things.
Yeah. Awesome. Coach, I got to give a shout out to our championship coach here in Port Jervis. Damian Straharski's watching. He won that championship. And, nobody likes to lose, but your point there, and we have these, very proud of these there. Coach, going on what you were saying, complacency and winning, right? Your motto, your book, your mindset, your website is never stop getting better. Well, if you're doing great all the time, like you said, how could you keep growing? How do you know as an individual if you've reached that plateau?
Well, number one, I think you got to continue to stack days. The things that you're doing to get you where you're at, you got to continue doing, but then you got to continue to learn. You got to continue to grow. You got to continue to reach out to the Lauren Montgomerys of the world and continue to add to, your culture, your behaviors, your standards. Like, we're steady trying to find a better tackling drill, a better blocking drill, a better way to run a bubble. Like, we're going to be curious and we are going to try to continue to learn and grow and just stack good days, man. Like, I don't think winning is overly complicated. I think you win in the offseason. I think you win, before the game ever kicks off, because we are going to try to outwork everybody else. We're going to show up early. We're going to stay late. The Dr. Gilbert do more than expected. We're going to do more than expected. Our kids are going to do more than expected, and they know it. They know right now, that I had a kid the other day. I asked him, I said, why don't you play football? He said, man, I heard y'all go for 6 hours in the summertime. And I said, well, that's a lie. We don't go 6 hours. We might go 5, but why do you think we win? Right? Because we're going to do more than everybody else. And that's just, I think we have to continue to do that and not become complacent, and stack our days, man, and push ourselves, right? Because, if the objective is to be the best we can be today, that's the only thing, man. Like, I scored an 18 on the ACT. I, honest to God, can't look down the road. Like, I'm looking to tomorrow. We're going to practice at 5:45 in the morning. I'm fired up about it. Like, how can it be the best practice, that we can have? How can we come back, in a weight room session in the afternoon? Like, we're just trying to make the best Tuesday that we can make, and then we'll figure out Wednesday when we get there.
I love it. Coach, what would you say to someone said, well, he's never satisfied then, right? If you're always getting better, the state championship, they're in the championship game. He's never satisfied. What would you say to that? I think it's hard. I think, I will be the first to admit that I hate losing much more than I love to win. Like I said, I can remember, the last home loss was October the 22nd, 2022 in overtime, because we scored, kicked the PAT, they scored and went for 2 and beat us. And I can remember
the play that didn't happen that could have won us the, like I can, like losing, like I hate losing so much, that it's sometimes hard to enjoy winning. But what I have come to is this, and this has taken a while. It's taken some time to get there, right? Is that you got to be able to appreciate when you win. Like you got to be able to appreciate when you win. And I have started to give myself Friday night, I'm going to be happy. Now, I will say this year, first ball game of the year, we play a team, Webb City. They're one of the most successful teams in the state of Missouri, okay? And we win the ball game by 2 touchdowns. We come in that night, and my wife and my mother-in-law both, oh, what's wrong with the team? What's wrong with the team? Like, why didn't we run rule them? Why didn't we beat them by 35? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we just beat a great team, 14, so expectations is a whole nother animal. The expectations around here have gotten really high. We used to, the first time we beat Webb City, we come home to a parade. We had the police escort into town. Now we beat Webb City, and the question is, why did we only beat them 14?
14 from your mother-in-law, no less.
The expectations have changed. You know what I'm saying? But that's not all bad. You know what I'm saying? That's a good thing.
Yeah, you've created a culture of winning there, a culture of expectations, similar to what our guy, Coach Traharski, has done here. Sure. Coach, you mentioned some talented athletes there, some talented players, best in the state. I was a Giants fan growing up, and Bill Parcells would say publicly he doesn't treat Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor the same as everyone else, right? You're at a different level. It's a high school level. It's a championship level. But does that superstar player that's going to go to Miami and going to go to Missouri, are they following all the same rules as everyone else? How do you manage that at a high school level?
It's a challenge. I think there's 3 things that coaches have to do to be successful. They have to develop relationships, they have to build trust, and they have to win. Okay, like you got to win. If you don't win, you can be the best relationship guy in the world. You can be the most trustworthy human. You're still going to get fired, right? You got to win. So is everybody treated the same? No way in the world. Like when I got here, I talked a kid into playing football that they said would never play football. He just played in the Sweet 16 for Iowa, Cale Combs, right? Well, I struck a deal with Cale Combs. I said, I'll tell you what, Cale, I made up a certificate. A document. And I said, look, man, this is a certificate that says I will only ask you to run fades down the sideline. I will not ask you to block. I will not ask you to run slants. If you'll play, I'll sign this agreement, and that's what we'll roll with. And we've developed a relationship. He ends up playing, and in his first ball game, he catches 12 balls for 222 yards, and it was straight fades. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, man. Like, he wasn't treated like everybody else. But, now as we've grown the program, like Jackson Cantwell was the number 1 player in America. His standard was already so high, like he didn't, it's both. Okay. Was there things that was special to him? Yes. Like we let him, we catered his weight program to him because his mom and dad were both shot put Olympians. So they had a weight program, and we let them run his weight program, through our program, but did he, he didn't never missed the practice. He always showed up early. He always outworked everybody else, like the standards were the same, and that was whatever our standards of our program is. He far exceeded that. Were there certain procedures that was different? Most certainly. He's 6'8", 325 pounds, and bench press is 500 pounds. And he's the number 1 player in America. Like, are we going to tell him that he can't do, his Olympic track workout because we know better? Come on, man. Like, I'm not that arrogant. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there were some things that were different, but, not the things that mattered, not hard work, not the way he treated his teammates, not the way he showed up. This kid could have missed practice and flown all over the country, and he never did. Like, he never took a trip at the expense of our team, because I think, go back to the way how has it been built? Like our program has been built on that we're going to be a family, and we're going to be together. We're going to pull for each other. We're going to encourage each other. We're going to work hard. We're going to do more than expected. And, the personal stuff that came with the accolades, man, he was awesome. but his teammates loved for him to get that stuff, and he loved to get that stuff. And he was the type of kid that when Smoothie King comes in and wants to offer him an NIL deal, his offer to Smoothie King was, how about y'all give my teammates smoothies every Friday, and I'll make the deal with you. And we got smoothies every Friday because that's what Jackson wanted. That's what he wanted. You know what I mean? Like that's the type
good NIL deal
that he was. You know what I'm saying? Like, so are there differences? Most certainly, but not when it comes to the standard of what it means to be successful. You know what I mean?
Coach, that was a great answer to a difficult question. Yeah,
well I'm 32 years in, right? There's no way you can treat them all the same, like you just can't, Yeah. But what I have learned is this, and this, your best athletes have got to be held to even a higher standard than everybody else. When those guys are your sure enough dogs, you're going to be good. You know what I'm saying? If you allow those guys to slip around and do less, you're not going to be very good.
Coach, we talked a lot of football here. Again, the success you've had at Nixa, state champion in Pearl. But off the field, you're doing a lot of leadership work. You do speaking, you do coaching, you do inspirational work, and you have a very successful podcast. We're going to put this in the chat again. Talk to me about the work you're doing with Never Stop Getting Better and the podcast and the soon to be book.
You know what, Andrew, I believe that, the good Lord put us on this earth to serve other people and to try to make a difference in this world. And, 18 or 20 years ago, I decided I was going to wake up every single morning and start reading every single morning, and I've not missed a morning since. I wake up early. Now it's 4:00. I dive into a book, man, and I just get after it. Well, all that reading has led to, a desire to try to help other people if I can, so, like doing the podcast, the thought was, man, I just want to serve somebody. I love listening to podcasts. Like, I'm a podcast guy, right? Like, I love listening to them. So I thought, man, what if I did one, and maybe I could help somebody else, and what I didn't know was that it was going to serve me more than I served them. Like, I've learned so much by having people like you on. If you want to go back to episode 72 in 2024, I got Andrew Murata, the famous Andrew Murata on the podcast. Like, I learned more from hosting it, and it makes me want to give back even more. Why did you write a book? I wrote a book. There's a picture in the book of my granddaughter who's 4 years old. And in the picture below the caption says, this is the reason why the book was written. Plain and simple. I want my grandkids to have a book that one day they can read, honest to God, whether it sells 1 copy or 10 copies, like, I don't care. Like, I've got a book. It was a goal in 2022. I'm a slow learner. In 2026, I'm going to have a book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love trying to add value to other people. I love speaking. That's something that I grew up watching my dad as a preacher, get up on stage and preach. And, I probably have been thinking about that for a long time. You know what I mean? So I enjoy that. I enjoy when you go up there and you give a talk and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And this little lady runs you down out in the parking lot and she says, Coach, I just want you to know, I hate football. Like, I hate football, but I absolutely needed that talk today. Like, that talk hit me right between, and I thought, like, that's why you do it, man. Like, you're not doing none of this to serve yourself. I know you're not, but there's no fulfillment in serving yourself. So, everything I do, man, it's just, I'm thinking about how can we add value to other people's life. You know what I mean? And I enjoy doing it, man. Like, I don't want to retire to the recliner and the news. That's not my plan. Like, my plan is to continue growing, learning, and adding value till I'm in that grave, whenever that may be.
Well said, Coach. Again, the podcast is in the chat there. His website, neverstopgettingbetter.net, is in there as well. Coach Straharski jumped in here, Coach Perry. I don't know if you could see it, the chat there. What was the most significant failure or loss in your coaching career that prepared you to win a state championship?
Yeah, one of the ones, and this is chapter 1 in the book, okay? This year is 2000 and 3 or 4, we're at Kosciuszko, Mississippi, a little school, and we're top 10 in the state. And we play a team that's 3-3 and notoriously not very good. Well, we go down there that night and we get beat. We get beat like 48-42 in a shootout. Unbelievable. And it was the most embarrassing at the time loss. And I was a young coach, probably stupid, whatever. Well, when that game was over with, man, I go storming out, and my wife and some of the moms had made 200 ham sandwiches to feed the kids after the game. I go out there and grab that big box of sandwiches, and they're going into the dumpster because there's no way that we deserve to eat sandwiches after a loss like that. So then me and my wife tie up, man, and we get into a humdinger out there, and I'm going to throw them away. And she's like, "You will not throw them away. If you throw them away, I'm out of here." Well, I don't think we threw them away. Like, I think the kids ended up getting their sandwiches. But the lesson learned was this, you can lose your cool and be really upset about, the way your team played, but can you do something about it? Like getting mad, throwing a temper tantrum, throwing sandwiches in the garbage absolutely means nothing. You know what I mean? Like, can you sit down and say, you know what, man, we didn't prepare well enough. We didn't practice well enough. We weren't coaching well enough. Like, we didn't do anything good enough. Hats off to them, right? Like, they outplayed us. They won the ball game. We got to be better, So the lesson was this: quit complaining about, like things that you don't like, and take ownership of where you are. You know what I mean? And just own. I used to be the guy, Andrew, that would go in the principal's office and have a list of about 6 reasons why we can't win a state championship. And I was blaming the school system, the city, okay, because couldn't be my fault, right? Like, I'm great, can't be my fault. So then I went to a clinic in 2015-ish, and Brian Kite, do you know Brian Kite?
I do not.
Leadership expert, him and his dad, gurus, like they taught leadership to Ohio State and Urban Meyer. He made the statement in a session that if your team went 4-7, you're a 4-7 coach, period. He said, if you want to change the team, change the leader. There's no such thing as bad teams. There's bad leaders. Change the leader and the team will get better. And I sit there and thought, man, like, I would like to punch this guy, because we had just went 4-7. I think it's the only losing record that, I've ever had as a head coach. But I went home and I dove into his podcast, and I started learning everything they taught. I took some virtual classes. And what come out of that was this: dude, you're not good enough. I got to be better. Like, I buckled down. I cut out blaming. I cut out complaining. I cut out being defensive, and I owned everything we did in our program. And instead of blaming, I tried to become curious as to, how can we get better? How can we do this? Like, I'm not fixing to go in there, and we quit making excuses, and we put our head down and we went to work. You know what I'm saying? And that was when, honestly, the football part took off, because I think too many people want to sit around and make excuses. Well, if you make excuses, you just give all the power away to something else. Like, you have no possibility of getting better if you're blaming somebody else or your circumstances. And we don't do that, man. We have a no BCD rule. Like, there's going to be no blaming, complaining, or getting defensive ever. Like, we're just going to eliminate that off the jump. And we're going to try to figure out how to be better. What went wrong, be curious, ask questions, and continue to grow and be better.
Great answer, Coach Perry, Nixon High School. Damian, that's a great answer there. Coach, before we get to rapid fire, we're approaching the 2-minute warning here. I love this, our pre-show questionnaire. People fill these out, and I wrote here, what's one of your greatest successes or worst failures? And your answer here, I loved it. And here's the championship football coach, a big, tough guy. He's been coaching 30 years, has so many wins. And he wrote here, one of the greatest successes in his life, having the best relationship in the world with my wife. It's been taking a long time to figure that out. Tell me about that. Tell me about the woman behind the magic, Mrs. Perry, and how could this great football coach that this is the best in his life there. I loved it.
You know what, man, leadership doesn't discriminate. I don't believe that you can be good in one area of your life and be deficient in another. Like, if you are the best CEO in the world, but yet the home's not right. You're not right with your spouse. You're not right. Like, I don't believe you're living, in your purpose. You know what I mean? Like, what I found was this: as I decided to be the best version of me, like, our relationship took off. And to me, like, let's try to be great at everything we do. You know what I mean? And I've lived on the other side of that, where I thought it was all football, and I wasn't the best husband in the world. I wasn't the best father, but, through luckily growing up, reading, educating, learning, putting yourself around great people, man, like, there's no greater pride in the world when your spouse is your best friend, and you completely do this thing together. Now, I have, because she's coaching flag football with me now. We did have a conversation Friday night. I said, can I talk to you like you're the assistant coach and I'm the head coach? She said, sure. I said, don't say that to me again. Let's move on. Going on about my business. But like, to me, life is awesome. And it's not meant to be awesome in parts. Like, life is meant to be awesome in all of it. And if you're not getting what you want out of your relationship, if you're not getting what you want out of your school, if you're not getting what you want out of your job, it's your fault. Get better. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, get better. Like, figure it out. You know what I mean? Because we all have the opportunity to get better at everything we do.
Well said, Coach. Shout out to Mrs. Perry there. That was beautiful. Coach, I know you do some speaking there. And before we go into 2-minute warning here, definitely check out John's website. And I know it's time to book speakers, right, for summer sessions for this. So here's a little commercial. I do some speaking as well. So here's a little thing. Look to hire John Perry, and both of us would love to come to your school.
Are you looking for a speaker for your next event? What is it? Opening day of school, a summer leadership event, professional development for next year, a business meeting? Andrew Marotta is ready to be your speaker. For the past 7 years, Andrew has been speaking to schools, businesses, and civic organizations, bringing energy, enthusiasm, and real connection to every audience. Connect with Andrew to learn more. He would be honored and excited to support your team with spirit, motivation, and inspiration you're looking for.
Thank you for that, Coach. Coach, before we get to rapid fire, anything else you wanted to share? Anything you wanted to anything I didn't ask you, or anything else you wanted to share?
I was just sitting here thinking, I got to get me one of them commercials, man. That's really nice. Next time we talk, I'm going to have a commercial. That's what I'm going to do. And I would say this, I would second what you said. You know what I mean? If there's anybody listening needs a speaker, I would hire Andrew Marotta, because I'm going to tell you what, man, like, phenomenal. Like, your life experiences, I don't know that I'll ever forget you tossing that ball up in the air crooked. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there goes the ball. I've told that story so many times, man. That's awesome. Like, I'm going to say I would hire you too. And I'm trying to get you to Nixa, Missouri. I believe it'll happen.
I know you are. I know you are, and I appreciate that.
Yes,
Coach Perry and I are both hotline callers, Success Hotline. Shout out to Dr. Gilbert, 973-743-4690. John and I both called. Dr. Gilbert has changed our life. John, I'm going to send you a few extra copies down. There's the book for Dr. Gilbert. So
that book is fantastic, man. If anybody that's a hotline caller probably has the book already. But if you're not a hotline caller, you should call the hotline and get the book, man. It's really phenomenal. How you put that together is amazing. It really is amazing. Like, how you have everybody's names that, like, it's everybody that's been mentioned. Like, it's silly. Like, I can't imagine, how you was able to pull that off as good as you did. But it is really, really good.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And we're both blessed to be impacted by
for sure.
By Dr. Gilbert. So let's roll, Coach. These are rapid fire. These are quick questions. This is it's a 5-second out. You got to got to get out of bounds and stop the clock. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Last movie you saw.
I'm not a big movie fan. We watch a lot of TV shows. So anything Taylor Sheridan made on Paramount, we're in.
You're a Paramount guy.
Taylor Sheridan. That's being The Landman, The Yellowstone, like everything he's made's been really good.
Are you a Friday Night Lights guy? Did you watch that show? Were you into that?
We watched all the Friday Night Lights for sure. We we're a show guy. Like I can't even tell you the last movie we went to or the last movie we watched, but we'll get into seasons of things and we'll binge watch them like everybody else.
I like it. Last concert you went to?
Oh, the Zac Brown band in the Sphere in Las Vegas. It was phenomenal.
You went to the Sphere.
Oh, it was phenomenal. Very, very, very cool. If you haven't done the Sphere, you need to do the Sphere. Do a concert in the Sphere, man. It's amazing.
I like it. Last song you sang out loud in the car?
That would probably be Chris Tomlin's "How Great God Is." Man, I love that song. I listened to on my Pandora. I listened to Hillsong United. Is the actual thread, and there's a Chris Tomlin thread on there. So how great is our God?
One thing you learned in 2026.
One thing I learned in 2026, that getting certified as a John Maxwell coach, teacher, and trainer wasn't really that hard.
Good for you. You got that.
It was awesome. It was fun.
Fantastic. Good for you. Adding to his list there. His website's in the chat, friends. Check it out. Never Stop Getting Better. John, a lot of meals there, post-game, pre-game. You mentioned the ham sandwiches. What is your go-to pre-game meal?
Man, I am a Mexican guy. Now, pre-game for ball games, not the right meal, okay? But I'm going to eat cheesy chicken and rice, add jalapenos at least once, if not twice or 3 times a week. I could eat Mexican every single meal. I think I'm part Mexican.
Okay, now, favorite dish from Mrs. Perry?
Probably spaghetti. I am a beef guy. Like, man, spaghetti, I love it.
Come up to New York. We'll take care of you.
No doubt.
This summer, you will leave a fill in the blank.
We will go see our son in Michigan at his first professional contracted gig in theater. He's playing Evan Hansen in Michigan, and we're fired up about it.
Wow. He's playing Evan Hansen?
He is Mr. Evan Hansen. It's going to be phenomenal.
Wow. Enjoy that. What is a pet peeve of yours, Coach?
Man, BCD. People that blame, complain, and get defensive, man, it makes me sick. Like, I try to treat it like they got the flu and get away from them as fast as possible. Can't stand it. You're
from Missouri. You're in you're from Mississippi. You're in Missouri. Now, who is your sports team?
Well, I grew up an Ole Miss Rebel fan, okay? So I like Ole Miss, but my sports team is the latest one that I coach, and that's the Nixa Eagle Lady Flag football team. No doubt about it.
I love it. When you look at the play sheet at the end, what do you want to see run pass percentage? What is it, 50-50? When you say, oh, I like that, what's your percentage?
Man, I'm an offensive lineman by trade. So, every offensive lineman in the world wants to run the football. So in a perfect world, we would be 70-30, 70 run, 30 pass. Now balance don't mean 50-50. Balance means that you can complete 70 or 75% of your passes when you throw them. You know what I'm saying? So we try to be balanced, but 70-30 would be great.
You mentioned being curious. What's one thing you're curious about?
Right now, I'm curious about how can I sell some sponsorships on this podcast. You brought that curiosity on me. I'm also curious about, executive coaching. I'm curious about life, in 10, 20, or 30 years from me. Like, what's next on the agenda? Like, I do spend a little time just being curious. I'm a very curious human, so I have lots of thoughts.
Well, if you're curious, here's John's podcast, Never Stop Getting Better, 300 episodes. Congratulations, John. Great consistency there. Something about Coach John Perry that people do not know about.
Probably that I love a good chick flick and that I am a extremely sensitive human. Most people would not know that. It's almost embarrassing to say, as a matter of fact.
Well, we'll make sure we clip that highlight and push it out there for you. We'll put it on the highlight reel for you.
Sure.
John, you've been fantastic. I could hear a lot of Dr. Gilbert's in you there, and certainly a championship mindset. Give us a quote to end the show.
I'm gonna give you a Bible verse, Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good for those who love him. And why I love that is, that's Paul talking to a church in Romans, and he says, and we know, he don't say we think, and he's been through a bunch of bad things. And when he's saying this, he said, we know, that he works in all things, not just the good things, but the bad things too. You know what I'm saying? For those who love him, and to me, I know that there's an ultimate coach, and I'm okay with, he's got the playbook and I'm just playing. And when bad things happen, I know now that it's actually for good things, because bad things are, it's part of life, man. But all things are working for our good for those who love him.
Coach John Perry, check him out. Nixa High School in Nixa, Missouri, right near Springfield. John, this was a lot of fun. Enjoy the off season here. Summer will be here, and then back to the grind. And certainly, we know football's king. And no matter where you go, football's king. So, congratulations on all the great work you're doing.
Andrew, thank you for everything you do for so many people, man. What a blessing you are to others, and I appreciate you taking the time to allow me to come on tonight.
We flexed, we moved it, we made it happen, and here we are. So thank you, Coach. The book is coming out soon. The name of the book is going to be Never Stop Getting Better, and we will check that out. Please, John, when it comes out, let's connect again, okay, brother?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, John Perry, everyone. John, stay on the line. We are going to sign off here on the podcast. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Leave John a positive comment in there. Check out and subscribe to his podcast, and keep surviving and thriving, friends. Coach Stryharski, thanks for tuning in, my friend. Johnny, I got a championship ring. Look at that.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Love it. All right, guys. Thanks, John. Thanks, Coach.